Hi, welcome back to Cambridge Inside Out. I'm Judy Nathans,
And I'm Robert Winters.
and we'll just finish up our
Yeah, talk a little bit
candidate
more about
talking.
the.
We were talking about, who was it we were on? Oh, John Pitkin, why he then
Yeah. So again,
endorsed, yeah.
the topic was candidate slates for this year,
Right.
2019.
Right.
Right. My understanding is John Pitkin, who I thought was a perfect match for Cambridge Residence Alliance. Why isn't he on the slate? The word I heard was, "Oh, he didn't get his application in on time," which I think is kind of lame.
Yeah.
Especially when I was reminded how 2 years ago with the Our Revolution group,
Oh,
Jeff Santos wasn't part of their original group, and then he spoke up about it, and next thing you know, he was.
yeah, because he's a friend of
And I can
Bernie's,
tell
yeah.
you absolutely during the days of the Cambridge Civic Association that after they did their first rounds of endorsements, if somebody didn't get endorsed and they wanted to sort of argue the case, you could actually have a second whack at it. And
Well, this isn't cut in stone. Who do they think they are? I mean, this isn't like going to go down in some.
Well, the one problem I have with all of these endorsing
Yeah.
organizations
Yeah.
is that people can say this is a part of democracy, but in my view, basically this is 3 or 4 people sitting around a kitchen table making decisions on what you're supposed to do. And I think the Residence Alliance is really probably about 4 or 5 people when you get right down to it. I think the a Better Cambridge is maybe a few more people, but it's still the people who are calling the shots. Some of whom are very closely affiliated with some incumbent city council campaigns. But it's still just a handful of people who are making those decisions. And are they arbitrary? Yeah, they're pretty arbitrary. And I know that the new group of the Cambridge Citizens Coalition, they kind of met afterwards, and by the end of the evening they had already made their decisions. And basically I think a lot of these things are kind of known in advance because they kind of know who the candidates are, and then
Well,
and that's
I
it.
would not say it's arbitrary when the issue, like for Better Cambridge, is did you support the affordable housing
Right.
overlay? And if you didn't, if that wasn't arbitrary. You just didn't
Right.
get their endorsement. So
I mean,
the other
the,
ones,
One of the more problematic
Yeah.
things about the Cambridge Civic Association today is that it became a point where the rent control was the
issue.
the
Yeah.
sole defining issue, and then they would consider other things. And if you answered the wrong way on that,
Yeah.
there's no chance in hell you were ever going to.
But a Better Cambridge, in their defense, Rob, is that they always were about density, housing. I mean, that really was their issue.
But the thing is
And
that,
transport,
and I'm sure one day they will find their way back to those issues. But the thing is that they, like a
Well-
lot of people this year, have sort of put all their eggs in this overlay basket.
Well,
And they've rather militantly even stated, they said, we want to get a 6th vote so we can bring it back with vengeance. And I'm thinking,
Well,
well,
you know,
all
if
right,
someone's
so
in support
tell
of it,
half the
then-
city to go to hell, right?
well, I don't think it's half the city, but then that's
Yeah.
you and some other people. But
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
Right. But the thing is that there is a sort of a new form of hostility that seems to be bubbling
yeah.
up from all of the various groups.
Yeah.
I don't know whether informing voters is really even the issue so much as it is about winning. Now it's all
Yeah.
about just about winning.
And one should note that CCTV has been videotaping all the forums. They don't come on right away, although when they're going on, they are Facebook Live, I think, and then later they'll appear on Robert's site. You've got a few
I
of
put
them.
a link in at the bottom
Yes,
of the candidate page.
and there's many coming up. There's
Right,
one.
and almost all the candidates also have their own individual
True.
video
Oh, they'll link
recordings
to
of
it.
about approximately
Right.
5 minutes length.
Right.
So.
And then Thursday
Yeah.
is
And I'm-
the Porter Square.
Actually, in terms of candidate
Oh, no,
forums,
Wednesday is also.
Tomorrow is actually one of my favorites. Is a Mid Cambridge Neighborhood
Right, I
Association.
can't go to that. There's so many things going on tomorrow night. I
Yeah, I'm
can't
going to go to that one.
It's gonna be really
So they're
rainy,
doing
but
it up at
it's the high
CRLS.
school, right?
It's at the high school, but where they do something that's kind of unique, where they
And
actually
they've
have
been
a
doing that
table.
for many, and then you move
You
around, or
bas-
the candidate moves around. You move around to different tables.
Basically, you have one table. You have like a bunch of candidates at one table, and then the topics move around from
Right,
table to
but the
table.
candidate stays at that table, and
Yeah.
then the participants move
And so
around.
it's much
Yeah.
more interactive
That's
between
interesting.
people and candidates.
And then the Thursday night one, which I am going to go to, is 2 parts. It's the Porter Square.
And that's the
neighborhood.
other really best one. I mean, I
Yeah.
have to say, if I were to sort of
Yeah,
like
These
rank,
two.
I'm
yeah.
gonna let me rank
Okay,
for
forums.
candidate forums. My favorites are the ones that are this week.
Yeah.
It's the Mid Cambridge one is great, and the Porter Square Neighborhood Association has always been the most professionally done.
So
I mean,
think
it's more
both
of a
are-
traditional beauty
Right.
contest. I think they do 2 panels.
They do. They're having 2 panels.
Yeah, so so like about an hour and 15 for one, an hour and 15
Starts
for
at
others,
6
something
to
like
like
that.
9 or something like that.
Yeah, and it's good. It's up at Leslie
Leslie.
University, the old Sears building. For those of us who go
Yeah,
back a ways,
right.
at some point you can't call it the old Sears building anymore because people
You have to
go,
be
"What's
careful
he
when you say
talking
Leslie,
about?"
though, because the last farm we went to was at Leslie, but it's at the Washburn. They took over
Yeah,
the
these
Divinity
different
School, right?
Leslies.
Yeah, so anyway.
So this is the one
They're-
up right at Porter
yeah.
Square, though.
Okay,
But,
so those two are
great.
good,
When
and
those
they're
are-
both going to be videotaped, but
Yeah.
if you can go, sure.
Yeah, definitely go. It's
But thank
good.
you, CCTV. They're doing all.
Yeah,
of them,
and they're really being the community
And
television
then you'll
station.
link, and Robert links them as soon as
We'll
they
do it all,
under
yeah.
the candidate pages, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Vote
oh yeah.
Cambridge. You have just the
Yeah,
site.
it's vote.cambridgecivic.com.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, the candidates, more candidates are finally getting responses back to me for posting.
Oh, good.
Some of them are really being very reticent about it, and at some point, I'm going to actually, for the incumbents, right now I just have as placeholder statements from 2017, 15,
You mean
whatever.
you still have not gotten updates from some people?
No, I think it's actually part of this sort of the divisiveness too. I think there's some
Really?
candidates who are saying
Oh, they
like,
think
"Oh,
you're
him."
like what? But it's straight
It's-
information.
There's
You're missing out on a really good site.
right.
I mean, if it comes to a point where we won't even let you put information on it because you don't like who's organizing it, that's really
I don't know.
bad.
I mean, I'm sort of entertained by it to some degree, but I don't think it speaks well of the city.
No, it does. And
Quite
I also,
honestly.
I don't want to get
But,
into it, but it speaks to a little bit about the money and developers
Yep.
and.
But I have to say, actually,
Yeah.
the school committee candidates on the other
Oh.
hand, that's kind of like the backwater of Cambridge politics sometimes.
Yeah.
But to parents, it's not. It's important.
And there's
as heck.
another one.
The
They have.
passions for school
I
committee
went to
races
the one
are
at the
stronger
library,
than mine is.
which was okay, and I think there's another one coming up somewhere.
There will be one
Yeah.
at East Cambridge. There's
Oh,
a
you're
late
right, you're
edition
right.
at the end, toward
You're
the end
right,
of the month on a
you're
Sunday
right.
afternoon.
Yes, you're right.
East Cambridge
have
planning
it here
team
somewhere.
and the East End House is hosting one on Sunday.
What about the
afternoon.
Ward 9 Forum? Have you heard about? You had that
I
on
know
your
about
site.
it, but I
That's
I've,
the 22nd. Well, we can talk about that
yeah,
next week.
so we can talk about next
All
week.
right.
Yeah. So anyway, so there's opportunities at the forums, but the thing is, you're also about to get flooded.
October 27th is the East Cambridge
if you're
Planning
like
Team
me,
School Candidate
getting,
Forum.
You're
Did you
getting
wanna
these
get-
things
Yes,
shoved
I
in your
have
doors
those.
everywhere.
Okay.
And it is it's interesting. The thing is, if you got enough money, you don't have to just print your handbill one flyer.
Well, they don't. They're put on. They're not mailed. A lot of them aren't
These
mailed.
are
These are-
like mailbox stuffers. They stick them in
Well,
your
you're
door.
you're not technically supposed to put it through the mailbox. But
People do it.
I know. That's
the-
where that's the invention of the door hanger.
One of the things that I've certainly noticed with some of
Yeah.
these flyers here is that if, for example, if a particular issue, let's not be too specific
Oh.
about issue or candidate,
Oh.
if a particular issue is not particularly favored in, let's say, mid-Cambridge,
Yeah.
right? And you're a candidate who comes on the other side of that issue,
Yeah.
you have a special thing you distribute in that neighborhood that makes no mention of that
Oh,
particularly
yeah,
divisive issue.
It's targeted.
It's good to have
mailings,
money.
yeah.
You print lots of different styles depending on who you target.
But that's the nature of that.
It's politics.
Yeah.
It's true. I can tell you because I provide.
It's like the
data-
people that change their accents when they campaign in the
I know.
South and the federal.
It's really true. Listen, I maintain voter databases and voter histories, and I make them available to candidates. So they're candidates who get the data from me, and
Yeah.
and sometimes they have over the years, not this year actually, but they will ask me, could you pull out a subset of voters who live in this zip code
Oh, right.
or are listed as this profession and only those people who voted in the two most recent municipal elections plus those who have never voted before but have registered since January 1st of this year. People ask those questions, and then they produce a data set of people, and then they make up their mailing labels, and they target those in a particular way. And every candidate makes different decisions about
Yeah.
who their target groups are.
Right.
And honestly, if you got database skills, it's really easy to do. And that's kind of how things work. You target voters, and the same thing is true when you're doing, passing
Yeah.
around literature.
Yeah.
You don't always put your same piece everywhere.
No.
If you're a candidate with a limited budget, you probably are just producing your piece.
Yeah.
If you're a candidate with a ridiculous budget, then you have 15 different versions of things that dropped in very, very targeted areas. And that's kind of how it's done. So, I don't know. It's a little dishonesty, but it's the way
Yeah.
politics works. Right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, it's really
Keep
true.
money out of politics.
You know, I have to say, until this year, was very much trending toward the non-concern about money in politics.
Non-concern.
Yeah, I wasn't all that bothered about it. I just sort
Oh.
of, my feeling was always, as long as you divulge where the money's coming from, I don't really
Uh-huh.
care. You know, and to some
Yeah,
degree,
but you
money is
also,
speech.
you vouched to have like a ceiling. We've talked about have a cap,
I-
and then if people go over that,
I
it's
always,
known.
I sort of wish
Yeah.
it was a voluntary
Yeah,
ceiling.
like maybe 20,000, which
No,
is
no,
still
no, no. I think that would be too low. But
Too low?
yeah,
25.
I think you could say.
Retail pot, you could knock on doors.
I think actually knocking on doors is still one of the more
I know.
effective ways
And people
to
do it, even though they're raising the
Absolutely,
money.
it's true. But the thing is that, one of the phenomena that I've noticed over the years is that if a candidate feels that they're on the cusp, and
Mm-hmm.
and this, by the way, includes some candidates who are not on the cusp, who are
Yeah.
absolutely going to get reelected, but they don't believe it because they're
Yeah.
worried. They live
Yeah.
in worry.
Yeah.
They say I don't want to be the person who loses by 15 votes because I didn't spend that extra $100.
They think that's going to make the difference.
So what typically you'll see happen in the latter stages of a campaign in the closing weeks is enormous mailings that go out.
Oh, yeah.
Where if a candidate can raise $100,000, they're just going to basically drain the account and do a broadcast mailing.
But don't they know that people don't want to get all that stuff? They just call it junk mail. I mean, maybe.
But the thing is, if you got more money than God,
you
what
have
you
to
do is
spend
you
it.
say, I mean, if it works out that the dollars per number one vote, which I always produce those embarrassing numbers
Yeah.
at the end, and
Oh, right.
if they're candidates who are basically
Yeah.
spending $50 per vote,
Yeah.
is what it
yeah.
works out to.
Yeah.
So dropping an extra $500 with the hope of maybe getting 10 or 12 more votes out of it is actually becomes sort of the thing.
Why don't they just
they're going
provide
to do.
pizza somewhere? I
You
guess
know,
that happens too,
A
right?
chicken in every pot is
yeah.
what I say,
no, I mean
right?
food. Take that extra money
This
and
is the way
feed
politics
people.
was played. You actually, you have, eat,
wait
provide
a minute.
food, have time.
Can you donate any of that money you raise for your campaign to a nonprofit? What?
Yes, they do it all the time.
Do they?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. In fact, and the thing is that is that a selfless act? I don't think it always is, because if you're giving money to
I'm
such and
saying
such a
after
charity,
after the election.
no, they
I
do
mean,
it during, after, whatever. It all
Well-
happens. But the thing is that then you also gain favor with the
True.
people
Well,
at
that's
those
a good.
organizations
I didn't
as
think
well.
of that. I was thinking if you had
Yeah.
to, you
So
don't have
it's-
to spend the money, do you?
Right, but
You
it
can
is
keep it for the
definitely
next- yeah. Okay, that is.
right. You don't
yeah.
have to spend it, and some
All right.
people, especially those who are planning to run for another office, and
They're
some
going
of
to
them
keep
are,
it. Yeah.
they like to keep a little extra kitty.
Yeah.
But the other thing too is that now it's $1,000 limit. I wish it was honestly. I wish they would bring it back to 500 because
What's $1,000 that you can donate?
per person per candidate. Yeah,
It should be 500.
I think it was better at 500 when they doubled it.
Who's they? The state?
Legislature, because hey,
Oh.
they're the ones who are getting the money, right?
Oh, right.
They said, sure, I'd like to get twice as much money, so they doubled
But
it.
that shouldn't apply to municipal. It should be
It
their own
does.
rules, though.
Oh yeah, no, it applies.
All right.
So anyway, I'm a little more suspicious about the influence of money in politics now, and
Oh, yeah.
and I'm a person who is an outright defender of, if you support a candidate, I don't care if you're a developer. I used to say that. Now I don't. My mind is changing about
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
a lot of this because I'm
Yeah.
just seeing people who are buying a property in
Yeah.
Alewife Quadrangle dropping $1,000 checks on specific candidates who they know are going to be supportive of their positions, and I'm saying to myself, this is not benign, and I can't bring
Yeah.
it. Now, I'm not, if somebody just happens to be some, nickel and dime, if somebody's got some sort of real estate connection and they write a check for $250 to a candidate who they've known their whole life.
Yeah.
Honestly, that shouldn't bother
Do you have
anybody.
a real estate connection if you're a small property owner?
No, but you see, there's a point that some
But
people will make.
I know, and that
is
actually was in that long thread that was
right.
made.
Yeah. So if you're
Yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
who wants to block a development, then and
Yeah.
for whatever reason, if it's because you're concerned about your property value, but that's usually not it.
You have political.
It's you're concerned about your
cachet
quality
that
of
way.
life,
Yeah.
and but because you own property, does that make you
And
kind
then-
of a have a
And then you're
conflict as well?
donating money to the candidate that's going to support your cause. That to me, that's
Right.
very similar.
Right. But the thing is, if it's
yeah.
really being driven, I mean, there were some companies, I
Yeah.
won't name them here, but back when it was a $500 limit, they would get themselves, their wife, their cousin, their
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
buddy, their whatever,
To all cover
and make
it,
7 separate. I could show you
Yeah.
this. It's like suddenly $3,500
Yeah.
would appear in certain candidates' bank
That's
accounts.
been going on.
And it was
forever.
7 people who were
Yeah.
all affiliated with one company, and they would just drop it in, and
Yeah.
they definitely had votes before the council
Yeah,
coming
but
up.
that's happening federally. It's just a big
I
problem
know,
with
I
money.
know.
But we don't want municipal funded elections, though, do we? Because I don't want to fund some of these
I'm not-
bozos that are running.
I'm
sorry.
not right.
I shouldn't say.
No,
some.
I agree. I'm not.
There's
I
got to
haven't.
be some threshold,
I would put in certainly voluntary limits, and if somebody
voluntary limits.
if somebody blows past the stop sign,
to
there ought to
make
be a
make it
big
known.
screaming
That's right.
red
This
light
person
that goes
is
off saying
earning,
this
you know,
this
do you-
person is trying to
right.
buy your
So
election.
I don't know why we can't do that, but you know what? Nobody wants to go there.
If we had a paper, if the Cambridge Chronicle had a higher circulation, and
if
there
the
was
Cambridge Chronicle was really the old Cambridge Chronicle,
it could be again, but
Well,
I'm
papers are folding all over the
I know
country.
hope springs eternal.
Yeah.
But the thing is that we don't really have a single effective way to reach people in
No.
this city, and we haven't had one for a long time. So there's really no way to get people sort of on board and informed about much of anything these days. It's a real difficult thing.
I agree, and I don't disagree with you. People have Twitter handles, all the candidates, all the
Well, that's-
incumbents.
that's
you
filling
have
the
your
vacuum.
site. There's Cambridge
I
Day.
know,
There's
I
social
know,
media.
I
mean,
know.
you can't put.
So-
I think there's a lot of ways to get information.
No, I think that that's
You know?
true, and I think that that's filling the void
Yeah.
that used to be done with curated news, where you actually had thoughtful things. And the
Saul
problem-
Tannenbaum does curated news.
No, he has an automatic
whatever.
robotic feed. that
Whatever he
simply
does,
picks up
I'm
the
just
feed
saying
and he
there
has
are.
he's not involved
But
in
you
it.
can choose to look at it, choose
Right,
not to.
right. But there is a fundamental problem with the
Yeah.
way Twitter and Facebook news, quote,
Yeah.
news, is generated in that the truth is not vetted. It's
no,
nothing
but if you know the person, I'm talking about the counselors. I'm talking. You
I
can
know,
vet
I
that.
know, but you've
I'm
got-
not talking about way out there. Yes, there's
Right.
problems.
But now basically you have like every endorsing organization basically should just acknowledge they've got the propagandist in chief whose whole job is to work
Yeah.
social media to
I know
put,
everybody has to have a
put
social
a point
media
of view out there
expert.
and
That's
you know
true.
bludgeon
Yeah.
anybody who gets
I
in their
know.
way.
Well,
So
I hate Twitter.
I don't like the way.
yeah.
I mean, maybe one day Twitter and Facebook and other
Mm-hmm.
media like this will mature to the point where it's actually dependable. But honestly, I don't see it happening anytime particularly soon here.
All right. Well, I think we've exhausted that part. So there's lots of forums. Go to Robert's site. He lists them. The civic calendar. What else?
Yeah. And by the way, one of the things that I'm sure we'll say this again before
Yeah.
election day comes, but there is still the question of when you have ranked choice voting, as we do for our proportional representation elections, there is a question of how do you cast your ballot?
Are we going to talk about PR right now?
No, just very fast, very fast.
Very fast.
Very fast. I'm not going to
Okay.
get to the mechanics. Is that
All right.
what I always tell people is simply this: is that look at all the candidates, decide which ones you find acceptable, and rank them.
Yeah, it's like
Okay, you don't have to rank everybody. In fact, you can't because there's a limit
Right.
of 15 now.
right.
But if you really don't like somebody, don't list them. It's that simple, and don't rank them last.
And
as
remember,
a
you don't put 1,
retribution.
2. You look on the top. It says 1, 2. You just put X's under
You
that.
fill in the bubble. Give
Yeah.
them 1 here or 2 there.
You know, the
3
election
there.
commission sent out something recently about
Right,
all
voter
about
guide,
PR.
yeah.
So
1 ranking per candidate,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't ever give any candidate more than
right.
1 ranking.
And speaking about ranked choice voting, they're trying to get that on the ballot for what, next year?
Yeah, for a referendum
And-
or
and
initiative petition.
And I
yeah.
know that I support it, and I told you I was recently out at, what was that, Honkfest? They were all over the place, all the young,
Yeah, yeah.
old people
Oh, yeah.
collecting signatures.
No,
and
I-
it's wonderful, and it's got to happen. It really is so important,
But again, people should ask questions too, because I think it's a great idea, and we
Well,
should be doing it more broadly.
Especially
but-
for primaries,
but-
though, come on.
Right. No,
Yeah.
but that's the question:
Yeah.
is how just because you rank your ballot,
Yeah.
what does that actually mean? Like, for example, if we had ranked choice balloting in the Democratic presidential primary,
Yeah,
what does it mean? It means,
Well,
so
it means that
if
somebody's.
this guy got a 1, this guy got a 2, got a 3.
It
what do you-
means that every one of your votes might count because it moves it up.
Right, but the thing is, you do have to make a decision. So if there
Yeah.
were 15 candidates,
Yeah.
what do you do? Defeat the 15th, bring it to 14, defeat the
Uh-huh.
14th, bring it to 13? Until what point do you stop? And then who gets delegates and in what
Top two.
proportion? Is it a top 2 system?
I don't know.
See, that's why people have to ask those questions. And they should even ask it of the people with voter choice when they were going out selling ranked choice balloting. Tell me, you
Well,
want this
what do they say?
It's ambiguous. I mean, do you want to do this for primaries? Do you want to do it for general election? Do you want to think this should be available for municipal elections? Should it be for state reps, state senators, or should it only be for federal seats? What is it? What is it?
Well-
I mean, because if it's just like we think this is a neat idea, that's great, because it is a neat idea. But people should also understand what it is to be used for.
So I guess in theory, you would like to think that like 1 to 15, the person ends up with the most votes would get like 60%, but that may not be
Right,
the
but
case. Is that what you're saying?
In Cambridge, we use
Well,
it to
that's-
elect 9.
I know, but
Or in
again,
school committee,
PR is
6.
not exactly ranked
It's
choice voting.
exactly right.
See, that's the
Yeah.
difference.
But
So,
right, so the thing is, if it's a winner-take-all
Yeah.
election, do you do it just to
Well, that's-
address
okay.
the spoiler effect to elect one,
Right.
or are you electing multiple people like they would do for delegates for a primary
well, then that's
election?
different too. So
That's
yeah,
right.
well then that
People
can be
sh-
defined
people
though by
should ask
each
the
election
questions.
though.
The advocates for ranked choice voting will become better advocates if you
Yeah.
ask them those kinds of questions.
All right.
You'll make them
I just
better
keep
at their
thinking
job.
of the primary with Lois Trahan and the 10 other candidates where that would have made a difference.
Yeah. If you're electing one, it's absolutely a winner.
Yeah.
Do it.
All right,
Yeah,
so all right,
yeah.
I get that's a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
point. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
So, all right. I
Yeah.
was just going to mention MIT Energy Night, which
Yep.
was like waiting in line for Star Wars. Who knew? Really. I
And
I
so
got
what was
there.
MIT Energy Night?
All right, I guess they have this every year, and it's kind of like I assume they're all from MIT kind of departments, and they have like a poster board, and then they have a presenter, and you go around and you see all these great ideas being
So
presented.
there is an initiative within MIT, because I work there.
Okay, all right,
And
good. Tell me.
So the thing is there
Yeah.
are a lot of people who are really hot to trot to want to solve problems of energy.
They are doing
climate change,
amazing
whatever.
stuff. This is all about
Yeah,
that.
I mean,
I
using
loved it. Yeah.
alternatives to fossil fuels, you
Yeah.
name it. I mean, MIT is an incredible place, really. Let's be
I,
clear about
I,
this.
I, every time I
Right.
go down there, I love it. It's like one big industrial
It is
factory.
great,
And I
yeah.
know people have complaints about lots of things, but there
And
were
they also
women
have-
scientists. They're
Right.
female. They're from
That's true.
different
And lots of them.
nationalities.
It's
And they're
absolutely
doing
true.
incredibly wonderful things
Yes.
to solve our
Yes.
energy
Yeah.
problems.
But
you know?
but I have to say, so
What?
there is a little irony.
What?
Some of the MIT
Oh.
buildings are the most energy inefficient buildings I've
wait
ever
a minute,
been
I
in.
thought they have cogeneration, all that stuff
Well, they've
going
got
on
that
there.
too, but the thing is
Oh,
they've got
okay.
you
But aren't
know,
they working on it?
leaking
No?
like they're slowly but surely getting through it. It's like $1 billion capital investment program to get it
All
up to
right.
snuff.
But like vehicles and
No, you'll find no better
I was
place
really
on the
excited.
planet
Oh,
Earth.
nuclear fusion,
Yeah.
nuclear small nuclear react. I know
Yep.
people don't want to hear about that, but I love
Hey, I'm
talking
going.
to
I'm
these
going for a
people
tour
about
in a couple of
What?
weeks of the
Of what?
nuclear reactor at MIT.
the one that's right on one of
Yeah,
those
Mass
streets.
Ave. I've never been in there. I'm dying to see it. And I've never.
What are you
never
going
been
to
there.
see?
I just want to see it. I just want the inside, what it's all about.
Now you're going to scare people who don't know that there's a nuclear reactor.
But there always
in
has
Cambridge.
been, and it's perfectly fine.
All right,
It's
the
a
last
small,
thing to talk
nuclear
about.
power
Did we
generator.
talk about this? No, we didn't mention this.
What is this one?
The
This is
King
the
Open.
Oh yes.
King Open is open, I guess. It's
Right.
Well, it's the King Open / Cambridge Street Upper School, and I didn't realize they were already
There
open.
must be some funny ways to ask the question, like when is the King Open?
But anyway, it encompasses the library, it encompasses the pool, it encompasses the administrative offices.
The new
Yeah.
administrative. So the Cambridge Public School System, which has been
Right.
in rented quarters, I think on Thorndike Street
Forever.
for decades,
Yeah.
is now moving themselves in like this week
Yeah.
and around now.
And
into
they're
some-
having an open house on
nice
October
quarters in the new
26th,
building.
which is a Saturday from 11 to 1:30. So I'm going to try to go from
I am going
around.
to try and go as well.
And
I was there for the open house when they opened up the Putnam Avenue School as
oh,
well.
I didn't get to
Yeah,
that
no,
one.
it's kind of neat. These buildings are
Okay.
huge improvements on what was there before,
And
and
okay.
I'd love to see it really.
And I'm just going to end with just something because I've been listening for a little bit now to Edward Snowden's biography, Permanent Record. And if you don't want to be scared by things, then don't read it.
Right.
Because he just lays it all out about internet and this and how his internet of the 90s is gone, which is when he was. We were talking about this last week when he would,
Yeah.
you could be online and do all this stuff, and it was open and free, and you weren't afraid
I'm a
of
veteran
being
of the Usenet days.
exactly.
Actually, Saul Tannenbaum, who was very
yeah.
loud with the ABC group.
Yeah, yeah.
I first met him online.
And Upgrade Cambridge,
Probably
more
back
so.
in the 1980s or
Yeah, well,
early
you would
90s.
fit right at home. I mean,
Back in
Edward
Usenet
Snowden
days.
is in his late 30s. He's 39 or so. But quickly, he got into the Los Alamos, whatever. Back when he was 15 or 16, and they have directories. Do you know what directories are? Okay, but he found out all the directories were open. It wasn't just one PDF.
That's
It
the
was
way
like
it used
all
to
of them.
be.
So he sent an email
Yeah.
to them to let them know that. Didn't hear back. Finally called them. Didn't hear back. Finally, 2 weeks later, his mother gets a call, and she's like frozen, and she says, Los Alamos is on the phone. What did
Yeah,
you do?
what did you
But
do?
apparently
But
they
I- but I-
thanked him.
No,
They
and-
corrected
and
the
they should. No,
problem.
I will tell you because
They
I was
wanted to
around
hire
this.
him, and he said, well, I'm sorry,
Listen,
I go to school.
I have to tell you, back then, nobody worried so much
I know,
about security.
I know.
And
yeah.
yes, back in the day, I could sort of go up the chain, end up in a root directory.
Did you hack?
I wasn't a hacker, but the
No.
thing is that there wasn't nearly as much
There was no-
effort
no,
done to,
no
to
security,
maintain
no.
privacy of your own files.
No.
So if you were a teacher and you had
Yeah.
your exams on your
Yeah.
computer and it was
Yeah.
networked together,
Yeah.
and you didn't know what you needed
Yeah.
to do to keep
No,
those
it's
things
true.
secure, students could basically be
Yeah.
going in there and just basically
I
reading
know.
the exam they're going to be having next
I know,
week.
but
you
no, but in seriousness though, I mean, he
It's
does
very-
talk about
it's
a
better
lot
now.
of stuff that encryption. I mean, some of it, it's
it's
you know,
yeah, so much more care. But the thing is that also
Yeah.
back in those days, you also didn't have spam problems. And then when they started giving out free email addresses through
Yeah.
Yahoo and
But he
and
basically says
Microsoft-
when he saw the refrigerator back then that had internet, he says we're done for. It's like I mean, Silicon Valley had a great thing on that where they were using them as servers for excess stuff. But anyway.
Yeah.
So next week we'll be here, right?
We will be here next week.
And
Absolutely.
there's lots of things to go to. So check out Robert's site and
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if a candidate comes knocking, ask him the hardest questions you can because it'll make
True.
him a better candidate.
that's right.
That's my
Good
advice.
point. Go register if you're not.
See you soon.
Bye.